Going on, guys? I figured I'd fire up the camera and go through a little bit of a project with you, or kind of a workflow or procedure that I typically go through when working on some of my sheaths. I'm actually putting together a small batch of lineman's plier sheaths, and down towards the last couple of steps, one of them being engraving my maker's mark into the sheath. So here over to my CNC router, which I finally got back to just about 100% functionality. I've got this little fixture set up, which basically just kind of helps me position and square out my sheaths for making my maker's mark in the same position and depth every time. Now, in order to use this, however, I do need to probe it, to get its exact position. And then I've got an offset, that I've just kind of designed into it, where I go forward an X 1/4 inch from this corner, and over and positive and Y 1 inch, and that centers me right between these two holes. And that's how my tool path is set up for its origin. Then I could just set the Z height based on the thickness of the sheath. So what we need to do now, and kind of what I wanted to show here, is because of this new spindle, as well as this new screen set, I've got kind of some different probing routines and procedures that I didn't really use the same way with my old spindle and screen sets and everything. So we're just going to kind of walk through that. Now, if anybody's got any questions on like setting all this up or using it, or what kind of probe to get and this and that, by all means, leave some comments, questions below. I'll do a longer video, but we'll just kind of keep with the basics here. So here's the probing screen I'm using. It did take me a while. I finally figured out kind of how to set this up and use it. Part of it was a couple of fundamental misunderstandings on my part on how you're supposed to pre-position the probe. Initially, I thought you'd kind of just set it off the front of a piece, and then it just goes straight in till it touches and sets it. I guess that'd be too simple. You're actually supposed to set it kind of above and over the spot you're trying to probe. So we're going to do that. Then you've got all these speed and distance settings, stylus tip thickness settings. And normally in the past I would use a tool bit and a touch plate, or maybe a dowel and a touch plate, and kind of use that as a probe. Now I'm kind of starting to get into the habit of using a dedicated kind of electromechanical probe like this guy. I've got it dialed in for concentricity, got it in a dedicated tool holder. And so now I can just quickly and easily pop it in here. I've got my power lead, which also sends the signal to my breakout board into the probing pin. So there's actually 3 wires on this. I believe it's positive 12 volts and ground, and then a probe pin lead. So that anytime this probe touches something, it turns red and basically digitizes or lights up my probe active. So I'll touch it now. You can see that activates the probe, just like grounding a tool onto a touch plate like I normally would. And this could theoretically even be used with a touch plate, but this works just as well. For instance, like for this fixture, this is a great example. Trying to use this kind of corner and edge finder, because of the steps and the screw here, it really doesn't fit flat or squarely on there very well. And so I can't get a good representation, to zero on this corner, which is where this is kind of meant to start out. So we're just going to jog down to within a 1/4 inch or so, get somewhat close to the corner, but still kind of over the top of it. I know it's kind of hard to see from this angle, but now we can click on corner probe down here. We get, and this is an addition that's not normally in these screen sets. I downloaded some additional code. This just reminds, have you plugged in your probe? Well, as a matter of fact, I have. So we'll hit OK, and it'll do its thing, probing the left side first and then the front Y side. And we'll see how that works. So now this has positioned me basically at X and Y 0 relative to this fixture where I need it to be. Perfectly positioned, you know, just that quick and easy. Although I do need to remember to come over here and 0 my X and Y. So now I am zeroed. And now I also know that for this particular fixture, if I haven't said it already, these holes I want to be right in the middle of for how I mount these sheaths. So I need to come forward in X position 1/4 of an inch or 0.25 inches, and then over in Y 1 inch. So I'm going to go to this MDI here, which is real convenient. Go X 0.25. And then Y Y1. You know what? I said that backwards. Let's go X1. Huh, now that actually added. My old screen said it would just go to 1. Now I got to go X minus 0.25. Okay, so now I'm at 1 inch. And then Y 0.25. And yeah, I could have typed that all at the same time, but you know, clearly that would have probably confused me even more. So now once again I can 0 because I know I am in the exact center position of where I need to start for my engraving the way this fixture is set up. So next, I'll get enough clearance to remove the probe, which again is just as simple with our new spindle. Set this safely off to the side. And now I've got my V-bit. And just that quickness and easiness, the efficiency, man, I love this new spindle. So what we're then gonna do is move this out of the way so that I can mount a sheath in position, and then I just need to 0 the V-bit onto the top surface of the Kydex. I'm going to come back here to the screen, go to the main screen, and let's go to XYZ 0. Granted, I knew that Z0 is still above my surface. You do have to be careful doing that. Sometimes you'll stab right down into everything. And then I do have sometimes this little light just to help cast a shadow. And basically till the bit just touches the shadow. Now I know that I am effectively zeroed on Z. We'll turn our light off. We will hit Z0. Now we're pretty much set up to load our program, which in this instance I have on my desktop as sheath engrave or sheath maker mark engrave shortcut. And we can come over here just to verify our little toolpath screen. We can zoom in on there. And so now what I like to do is jog up out of the way just a little bit. I'm actually going to increase my feed rate. I'm going to override it in this control to about, say, 180%. I probably need to modify this code, but you know, it goes slower than it kind of needs to. Now we can hit cycle start, which is the green play button. And I can already see we're kind of a little bit too shallow for what I want this maker's mark to be. So what I'm gonna do, I know my zero is like just touching that Kydex. Let me go over here, yet another convenient MDI. I'll go Z minus 0.0, let's go 12 thousandths. We'll hit enter, re-zero our Z. Now let's just hit Z1, raise that up, we'll hit cycle start again, and we'll test that. I think I may want to go just a little thicker than this. It's actually pretty close. Just wondering. If my jig got a little out of flat. Feels even here. That's part of the reason I have this. This is to kind of square it or help square it before I fasten it, but also just to be a visual guide for flushness and flatness. So I think I actually want to go maybe another 12 thousandths down. So Z, actually I can go to back in my history, scroll up, hit enter, 0, again, back up. And once I get this set, which normally doesn't take this long, it's good for the rest of the sheaves. I got a little batch of them here, so try this one more time. You'll notice it goes over again. That's just like a spring pass, and really does a nice job of clearing the swarf and chips that kind of stick behind. Seems like that turnoff's a little delayed than it used to be on my old screen set, but let me see what I did with my air gun. Hopefully it doesn't kick the compressor on. Also got a little nylon, kind of like a dish brush. That kind of just help clear any chips out from the letters. And I am very happy with that. So you'll notice I also programmed an additional Y+5 or 6 movement just to kind of get this back out of the way. so that I can get my drill in. And now we're calibrated and set up for a nice maker mark. Really the only thing left to do is put the clips on, and these will be ready to list on the site soon. So there's one. I'm going to set it out of the way, and we'll do one more. If anybody wants to stick around just to prove the repeatability. Again, I'm just kind of checking for flush. Sometimes these eyelets, you know, I try to press them pretty uniformly, but if they're not, this could be angled a little bit. And we'll hit cycle start. Just that quick. You know, again, I'll hit this with a brush or an air gun, clean that up. But ready to pop the next sheath in there. Now I'm sure there's probably faster and better ways than screwing these down all the time. You know, if anything, I need to get shorter screws. But it doesn't take that long and it yields a nice result. So that's pretty much it for Lyman plier sheath engraving. Showed you guys a little probing routine, which is nice. And again, if anybody wants like a longer video, not that this ain't already long, or just a different video, I can go through. I did make some changes to like this front screen. For instance, Probe Z, I liked my old probing routine for my old screen set, so I did a button edit and just put that code in there. And then this probe corner, this is like an inside corner. I don't have this edge and corner finder, which is kind of like a right angle thing. My touch plate is similar, but I just used the hole centering code from my last screen set, edited that. You know, maybe one day I'll change the picture, but I don't really see the need to. Yeah, so far I'm really liking the screen set. Now that I've figured out the probing screen particularly, I really like that. And then there's actually one other probe plugin I downloaded that I'm really excited to try out. That'll be another video for another day. But yeah, if anybody needs a little bit more help on this, there's kind of some very specific things you got to do and set up and kind of think about in order to get this to work. But once you wrap your head around it and get these settings right, some of which will likely need to be adjusted for certain like specialty probing situations. But once you kind of get your head wrapped around that, especially just for basic like side and corner stuff, it's a really phenomenally useful probing, you know, wizard or screen probing routine. So really happy with that. Mike from Physics Anonymous, he did a really good job, you know, putting the screen set together as an open source screen set. And then Sam from CNC 4XR7, who kind of customized this version of it for, you know, tool changes and, you know, that kind of thing. He did a phenomenal job as well. So definitely want to thank those guys. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned a little something, or at the very least, you know, were entertained, I guess. But that's kind of a probing routine for setting up for engraving maker's marks on sheaths. Hope you liked it. Thanks for watching. As always, we'll see you on the next one.